Good morning. Happy Sunday. Sunday means it's race day. Welcome to the Church of Racing. We're at Magny Course. Excuse me. Pardon me. And qualifying is underway in the Simpit Summer Fun League for our road league, which is technically out of season, but we do have a little mini season we put together for just for the fun of it. So we change up cars, tracks, just to have a little fun for those who are missing the seasonal regularity, which will be coming all too soon in the end. But we are here just for some fun, and qualifying is underway, as I mentioned. I have not streamed a race in a long time, so we'll see how this goes today. I'm just here for fun, to be honest with you. So to let you know what we got going on the picture, on the right-hand side, let's see, I think I have that on most exciting, but let's put that on the leader. We're going to have the right screen focusing on the leader for the day. Under qualifying, it's probably going to take a little while for that to catch up with things. And then on the right-hand screen will be the screen that I will actually control, as we see Ken Estep having a little trouble there under qualifying. So, what do we have going on here? Let's see, we got Joseph Spacek out on track on our left-hand side. Hit the space bar so you can see things a little bit better. And let me remember my controls. I don't think I have anything set for next car or any of that in my controls. I guess I can get up to speed on that. Like I said, it's been a while since I have done this. Let's see here. Next camera, incident, camera, car, V and Shift V. Okay, we can probably remember that. V. Yeah, there we go. Alright, that'll work. We're going to learn this by the end of the stream, I guarantee it. And I'm going to put this so I can see your guys' comments. Extreme Racing, of course you can. Of course. All you have to do, well, you know how. I think I know who I'm talking to. Is that you, Kevin? Anyway, you should put on a Simpit t-shirt if you're going to be all official. I can put on a Simpit t-shirt real quick, or a shirt of some sort real quick. That looks like, is that David Clymer? Who we watching here? That is David Clymer. He is out there in the 242 gray and red car. And let's see, that's Chuck Labano having a little trouble on that corner. We saw Ken Estep. The easiest way is to join our Discord. There's a link right there. Nightbot provided it for you. And with that, you get in there, and we have a link on the left-hand side are all the threads. There's one for the road series, and it'll tell you everything that you need to know on how to join the league. And we have a couple more races in our Summer Fun League. Then we'll probably have a week or two off and then start our next season, which I believe is in the Super Light Formula car, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, there we are. We're watching Wouter Van Morik underway in the 668 car. Do we have any times in yet? Looks like Neil McDougall has posted a 129.771. Joe Antonio with a 130.2. And David Clymer at the 33. So, guys are still having a little trouble. Our format really doesn't provide much help. No one knows what really we're going to run until just a few days before. Actually, they do know, but they don't know the conditions. So no one's really doing much practice. We only give them 20 minutes to get up to speed, and then 10 minutes of qualifying, and then a quick 30-minute sprint race. Like I said, it's all about fun. Maybe a little bit of bragging rights each week by week. And the reason I'm not out there this week is I've actually injured my shoulder. So my left shoulder is actually killing me, making it very hard to race or do long-term driving of any kind. And on top of that, Amir was out of town. He normally is doing these broadcasts, and I figured I'd just step up and step in and take over the role, even though it's been forever and a day since I've done a racing broadcast. So just to remind you, on the right-hand side of our screen, we are focusing on the leader, and if things are working properly, that would be Neil McDougall. We can check to see if that'll work. It should work well during the race, maybe not so much in qualifying. And then here on the left-hand screen right above me, we are actually watching whoever I feel like watching, and right now we're watching Wouter Van Morik with 134.926, currently sitting 5th on our board. Scrolling through, let's see, that's Ken Estep in the 66 car. Do I need to update my paint? I never see him without a Moza paint scheme. This could be one of those rare occasions. Like I said, we don't have a lot of pre-game going. And let me step away for 1 second and fix one problem on the stream.
No, I got a different pay today.
Alright, is that better? I feel a little more comfortable. What do you think? Alright, let me get my keyboard that I need. I have to remember what keyboard and what mouse does what. All the disc golf. It's not. It's actually, I think it was the motorcycle ride that did it, to be honest with you. A little delayed reaction. This is my throwing arm for disc golf, so I don't know how I hurt this shoulder throwing discs with the other arm, but it could happen. Alright, I see my name is on the board, but I am not racing, as we did mention. We have a small group here today. I think today is more about me getting back into the hang of it, the swing of things when it comes to broadcasting races, calling the action. So, no changes up top right. Actually, little change. Randall White's moved up, so Neil McDougall still with a 129.586. Joe Antonio with a 130.206. And Randall White right behind him with a 130.8. That is our top three with about 2.5 minutes left in qualifying. 2.5 minutes and some cleanup laps. So I need to look at cars. Let's see here. That is Chuck's in the green car, if we can remember. That's Wout. Woot. In the red, white, and black car. Neil McDougall leading the way. There's the good shot of Neil. And are we confirming we're seeing that on both cameras? Because if we are... Oh no, up here we are seeing Ken Estep. So our focus on the leader concept is not working, but I believe that'll fix itself as soon as we get into race mode. A lot of things I gotta keep track of here today. Alright, so here we have right above me in that black and aqua color scheme in the 81 car, that is Neil McDougall, 129.586, the fastest time on the board in qualifying as the minutes tick down, and we're going to get this race underway before too long. I do like driving this P217 Dallaras. I think it's a great car, a great compromise of what you'd expect from a LMP style hypercar of sorts, without getting into the total complexities of the top tier. So I find it a very enjoyable drive. It drives like I like cars to drive versus just becoming this like out of control or way too much control downforce machine. Yes, it produces a lot of downforce, but you can still get this car sideways, unlike a lot of the other top tier cars. So one of my favorites when it comes to LMP style car driving, that's for sure. And no changes at the top. 9:35 the clock is ticked away. 10 minutes of our qualifying. I don't think this is a free car. I could be mistaken, but I don't think so. Alright, let's see some other paint schemes real quick. That's Joa. There's a shot of Joa in his familiar blue, white, and black Sim Magic and Simtrex sponsored car. Joa has been very consistent. Joa had a personal injury not that long ago and was on a racing hiatus. And I will say he came back with a lot of piss and vinegar. Joa Antonio came back an improved driver after some time away and has really been posting some very consistent top 3, top 5 finishes in just about any discipline that he gets in on the track. And there's a spun out car. Who's that? I should remember. That's Ken. That's Ken. I'm going to do terrible. Is that Chuck? Yep, that's Chuck. Joa. Chuck. Joa. It looks like qualifying is wrapped up. It has. We see the checkered flag. Neil McDougall with that 129.513 will be starting on the pole. Joe Antonio will be starting in second place with a 1:30.036, a little bit about a half second back. And about 0.8 of a second back of him will be Randall White with a 1:30.8. Looking back from that, David Clymer, Joseph Spacek, Wouter Van Morik, Chuck Labano, and Ken Estep will be our drivers for today. I'm not sure. Brandon Carl, report to the grid. You will be the 9th starting position in our all-star race here. This is the all-stars of the fun race, the all-stars of the fun race season in between our main season in the Simpit Road Racing League. And again, we're just hanging out. It's a quick race. I'm only here to have some fun myself and watch the guys do it since I can't be out there with them. And we're just, again, I don't have the exact date in my mind right now, somewhere between 3 and, let's say, 5 weeks away from the start of the official Simpit Road Racing League. So, again, this is just part of our summer fun. A lot of people are on vacation. A lot of people are fighting injuries. Various reasons they can't make races. Usually we're looking at somewhere between 20 and 40 drivers in the Simpit Road Racing Series. All right, clock ticking down. 1 second. I think we're going to see the grid lights come on. I should probably pee real quick before they roll out. So forgive me, 1 more second away. 1 minute, 54 seconds away from grid. All right, they are gridding up. You see those beautiful Dallara P217s lining up behind that Porsche safety car. 1 minute to grid. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Ken, that's funny. I was wondering. I was like, wow, this is the first time Ken's not been in a Moza paint scheme. And I figured it was something along those lines. All right, let's make sure our second camera's ready to go. We're going to make sure this is on focus on the leader. It sure is. So on that camera above me to the right, you're going to see Neil McDougall on the pole. Joe Antonio on the outside. And then on this camera here, we're going to just kind of focus on David Clymer for right now. He's going to be starting in the 4th position. And we will see how things play out here in the next 30 minutes. I see a couple cars. Still one more car. It looks like we're 1 car away from a grid here. There, I see another car. We might be looking at a rollout. Oh, no, it's going to take the full clock because I'm not getting out there. So it is going to take the full clock. I missed the start, so we're getting ready. Did Brandon grid up? There he is. Brandon Carl did grid, so we are seeing all of our drivers on the grid as we see them roll out. Should I change the camera? Maybe I should change this to like camera 2. Just so it's a different view when we are looking at the same driver. Alright, one more time, just to remind you guys, over there on that side, you are looking at the leader. That will be the leader of the race. Directly above me, you will hear the audio of that. So just so you know what audio you're listening to and whatever driver I choose to follow. Right now, we are watching the 242, that red and gray car on the, I guess that would be the outside when we get going green here. And forgive me for not knowing the track. I won't be calling out any track names or corners like Kevin Ford or people who are the masters of broadcasting. I'm just such a wet rookie here. As they go through the chicane, pace cars in. Neil McDougall taking him to the green, and he gets away well. And he is off and running, and you can see Joe Antonio slots into that 2nd position. David Clymer in 4th, and that's Randall White in that yellow and black car lining up in 3rd right there. Clean start, and they are underway with Neil getting about a 5-car gap lead right out of the gates, and then we've got 2, 3, 4, 5 all in a row with about 2 car lengths between each of them, and then you see just a little bit of a gap back to Chuck Labano in that green and red car with Wouter Van Morik. And oh, who was that who went wide in the 8x8 car? That was Joseph Spacek, I believe, in the purple and blue car. Went a little wide, but he gathered it up nicely and is still going. Okay, go through that high-speed chicane over the curbing. David Clymer in the hunt of 3rd spot. Randall White. And I see Joe Antonio is actually moving forward. There we have 2 shots. Neil McDougall leading the way, but it looks like Joe Antonio has kind of closed the gap on him. And those two have created a little bit of a gap over Randall White. Whoops. 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 Oh, shoot. I have really screwed up. Bear with me. Hold on. Oh, wow. I have really screwed up. How did I turn on my mouse? What did that? Oh, no. There we go. Okay. Sorry. We're going to get that fixed. Wow, that did not go right. V and Shift V. Oh, and that looks like Ken Estep having trouble in that turn. We saw him in qualifying loop it out there as well. All right, let's try to get back in where we belong. That's Joe Antonio. And you can see Randall White has now pulled up towards him a little bit, leaving David Clymer behind. So 1, 2, 3 still pretty close together, or close things back up. David Clymer leading that second pack of David Clymer. Whoop, sorry. I'm getting caught up in the action myself. Watching Joe Antonio in hot pursuit of Neil McDougall. Randall White doing his best to stay with them. You can see these cars are slippy and slidey, and they're getting all over the place. There's a shot of Randall White in 3rd in that yellow and blue 84 car, doing his best to stay with that lead group. David Clymer leading that second pack. And, sorry, Joseph, I forgot that was you in the 88. Oh, David Clymer with a little mistake there. He's got it underway, but he's going to lose a couple positions. And there's Chuck Labano. And looks like Wouter Van Morik got by David Clymer as well. And then, let's see that. Brandon Carl, that's right, Brandon picking up a spot in that orange car from the rear, because I believe Ken Estep is taking up the rear after that spin. Back to the front. Neil McDougall still out in front, as he is now on lap 3. Looking at the clock, we are 6 minutes into our 30-minute race, and Joe Antonio not letting him get away at all. Taking a slightly different line through that hairpin corner. Randall White staying with them, but just dropping back a little bit of distance. Whoop. There we go. Shift is backwards. Got it. There's Randall. And we see Joseph Spacek in a really good battle right now with Chuck Labano. That's going to be a battle for 4th spot. Labano all over the rear end. Let's go ahead and get a cockpit view of this battle. Whoop. That's the spot I wanted. Using a little bit of curbing. Both cars get a good run off that corner. Not going to get a lot of draft in this short turny straightaway here. Onto the brakes. You see Chuck's definitely pushing, giving him some heat under braking into this final chicane before the start-finish line. A lot of curbing. You can hear the RPMs just jumping up with that curbing hit there. Setting up way outside for this corner. And we got a great battle here for the 4th spot. Oh, to the inside. To the inside. They are side by side. Labano to the inside. Spacek to the outside. Lobato just getting his nose slightly forward. Probably a good time to go back to TV camera as we see Chuck Lobato completing that pass. And now we're going to play the reverse hound jog. We got the reverse hound going now. Go back to the cockpit view and see it from SpaceX angle. As this battle for 4th place continues on. Don't let him get away. Lobato starting to stretch that gap just a little bit. Trying to make sure there's no draft, no advantage, no heat. Not have to watch his mirrors. SpaceX doing a good job of not letting him get away. Real wide, using all that curving off that corner. And now it's probably time to check back in with our leaders. And we will go to TV1 and get back to Neil. Neil stretched things out a little bit. Looking like he's got about a 1.5 seconds gap now over Joe Antonio in 2nd place. There's a shot of Joa. Randall White, about that same distance back, maybe a little bit further, but about a 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds back of Joa. And Chuck Lobato now clearly in that 4 spot. With SpaceX trying to stay with him, sitting in P5. David Clymer now in P6, so he's picked up a couple of spots from his earlier mistake. And that would be Wouter Van Morik. Followed by Brandon Carl. Which is now turning into a little bit of a 3-car battle. They're not too far back at David Clymer. Probably the closest 2 on the track right now. Brandon Carl literally getting up to speed with every lap, I think, and getting faster. Oh! Oh, Wouter getting some curbing and going around. I know that mistake all too well. I tend to do that in this car. That suspension hits you quick. It's a good car to drive sideways. But when you get assistance from the curbing to go sideways, it all happens all too quickly. Looking back up to the leaders. Neil McDougall looking really solid. Last time by a 1:29.744. We'll look at some of his lap times. Once he got up to speed, 29.914 was his previous best. And for some reason, I'm not showing the same number there. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, let's look at lap times by comparison to Joa Antonio. And he's run a 29.805. So real similar lap times, maybe a little more consistency at a Neil McDougall, which would explain the gap, which I believe is closed back up a little bit. Nope, I'm showing 2.2 seconds. That was the last time they came by the checkered flag. Or I should say the start-finish line. Checkered, we're still about 19 minutes away from. Alright, Randall White sitting P3. All alone right now. He can still see Joa. Joa's definitely within his reach. And we'll look at his lap times as well. 1:31.17. Oh, I'm looking at practice times. Please forgive me. Amateur hour here. We're going to go back through those lap times through our top 3, starting with Randall White sitting in P3. And you can see Joa just up ahead from Randall's perspective, so not too far back. His last lap was a 1:30.349. His fastest lap of the race so far was a 1:32.87. Joe Antonio, his fastest lap of the race so far is a 1:29.885. He did it on lap 2. And you can see the distance between him and Neil is about the same, really. And looking at Neil McDougall, his best lap so far is a 1:29.712, backed up with a 1:29.774, and then a 1:30.354 last time by. So very similar lap times from Joa and Neil, and Randall is just clipping at their heels. And we'll see how much tire wear ends up being a factor. Not sure it will be in this short race, but it's right about when you would start seeing some signs of wear if you're overdriving the car, that's for sure. So Joa's right there. still a good battle going on for sure. We are 13 minutes and 30 seconds into the race, leaving us a little over 16 minutes left. And our gaps right now are 1.7 seconds from Joa to Neil McDougall. So Joa definitely did pick up about 4/10 on the previous lap. We'll see, they're getting to the line now. We'll see what that gap is as they come to the line now. 1.67. So Joa making a little bit more of an improvement. And it looks like Randall White, who is 4.8 seconds back of the leader, is matching the leader's time. So this grouping staying very, very close together. Speaking of close together, our biggest or closest battle right now is actually probably at the front, that 1.6 second gap between Joa and Neil. Looking back to Chuck Labano as he's cruising away a little bit from Joseph Spacek. Still sitting 4 and 5. Joseph's in 5th place. And that's David Clymer after that spin. Making ground, making time all alone. He had left those drivers. He had gotten around again. And now sitting all alone in 6th place trying to catch back up. Brandon Carl, you can see the distance between him and David Clymer right there. Still underway and going strong considering the amount of practice. And we see Wouter Van Moork once again going off track, keeping all 4 wheels in the right direction this time. But definitely out there into the gravel, slowing things down and having a rough day. And there's a good shot of our Porsche safety car for everyone. All right, back to our lead. It's Neil McDougall up front, doing his best to extend that lead and get it out of the heat of Joa Antonio, who is making progress, or has been over the last couple laps. I'm going to check back in with the lap times here. This time by at the line for Neil McDougall, we're looking at a 130.6. Joa with a 131.216. So losing all that time he had made back up and back to a 2.2 second difference between them. And Randall White also losing a couple tenths now, 5.9 back. I'd rather be baking. I baked the other night. I have some delicious cookies in my cupboard right now that I'll eat after lunch. All right, there's Randall White. Who is that? I believe that's Ken Estep right behind Randall. Yes, it is. So that's a lap car. Ken being... I baked last night. I baked cookies last night. Randall White all alone, kind of just losing a little bit of time. He is running fast. He is running strong. And you do see Chuck Labano actually maybe starting to gain some time. He's going to have to get by Ken Estep, and then next in his sights will be Randall White. Neil McDougall not making any mistakes. He is running calm, cool, collected. As we see him go through the final chicane. Good job and a good launch onto that front stretch. This time by at the line, it's a 130.167. Is that exactly what he ran last time? 136.42 previous lap, 130.167. So he's actually getting quicker. Joe Antonio last time by 130.450. And that put our gap at 2.5, losing a little bit more time at this point. So tire wear could be coming into play. But you can see it's not too far. It is 1.6 seconds on a stopwatch. I'm sorry, 2.5 seconds on a stopwatch. But it is still right there. We'll go in car with Joa for a little bit here. And see how close that looks from his perspective. And there he is. There's Neil McDougall. He's there. Joa can see him. He can probably smell the rubber and the exhaust fumes. But he has been losing time. So going back 3-4 laps, Joa is improving and gaining time each lap. And then over the course of the last 2 laps, it's been the opposite, with Neil getting the better and increasing that lead out to 2.5 seconds at the last time by. This is pretty quick lap times. We're looking at 130s per lap. Oh, you can see a lot of sideways action by Joa there, using all that outside curving, setting up turn 1. And we'll look at that leaderboard time. You guys are seeing it. I got to keep checking. 3.3. So Joa with a 130.896 last time by compared to a 130.0 by Neil. So it looks like Neil... This camera view is very loud for me, by the way, just so you know. Go to some mixed camera. Neil McDougall seems to be finding his stride, getting to that point where he's really getting smooth with his controls, taking it easy on those tires, and with that, the lap times are getting quicker. Joa maybe overdriving just a hint in an attempt to reel Neil back in. Reel Neil back in, that was a rhyme. And, or at least those 2 words rhymed. I'm not sure if that was a good rhyming sentence. Anyway, Joe Antonio maybe doing a little bit of overdriving, trying to get back in the action and counterproductively falling back slightly. Some blimp cam? We got some blimp cam for you. You joke, but I'm serious. Gives you a good perspective of the distance, and it gives you a good shot of the course as you see Neil going through that final chicane, using a little bit of curbing on that second part, getting a good run down that front stretch, setting up turn 1, and this time by, it looks like our gap has stayed the same, 3.5, so it was a 130.1 for Neil, and a 130.2 for Joa, virtually the same lap times. And Randall White, there he is in 3rd place via our blimp cam. Yeah, but you can look around from that, right? We'll switch to chopper cam for a shot of Randall here. There's Chuck Labano currently running P4. And this gives you an idea as he now enters that same low-speed corner that we just saw Randall go through. And then that's Joseph Spacek, P5, entering that same corner on our chopper cam. And David Clymer sitting P6 in the 242 red and gray car with Ken Estep, who is a lap down, who seems to be hanging with David Clymer. They might be just racing for fun. And here's Brandon Carl running P7 into that same corner. And there's Wouter Van Morik, who's had a rough day, feeling bad for Wout. He had that one spin during the green flag conditions and another off into the gravel. Still out there having fun running, though. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And there is our leader, Neil McDougall, crossing the start-finish line to start his 13th lap. We are 21 and a half minutes into this race. So we have about 8 minutes left, depending on when they cross the line. And just so you guys know, just to remind you, if you don't remember, over there on the right-hand side, you are seeing Neil McDougall. And above, you're watching whoever I am watching. And the reason it is Neil is because he is our leader. That camera is on the leader. And I'm having fun over here with this camera going through the grid as we switch to Joa to see that gap. 1, 2, 3, not a lot of change in time. 3.2 seconds back for Joe Antonio. 7.9 seconds back for Randall White. So one small mistake in any of this grouping could become a fender-to-fender race and not too much time. And we switch to Randall White, sitting P3. And there's another shot of Chuck Labano. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. That is an ugly car. I'm sorry, Chuck. Brown and green. That is, with red wheels, that is quite a statement. No farting around here, Dirge. Alright, Joseph Spacek sitting P5. And that fine-looking blue and purple car. That's a color combination my eyes can look at comfortably. David Clymer, that all too familiar. Have you ever, how long have you known David Clymer? And have you ever seen him in anything but a gray and red car in the 242 red and gray. Always easy to find David Clymer on a grid. Having a good day out here on the road course. Last time by a 132 flat. Currently sitting P6. I didn't hear that. There's that beautiful Porsche safety car. And Brandon Carl coming to the line. Ken Estep hasn't gotten a lot of recognition today. He had that early spin, put him a ways back. He ended up going a lap down. I'm not sure if he had to go into the pits for fix some trouble or any of that. But he's out there finishing the drive and having a good time. And also having a rough day, Wouter Van Morik in the 668. Red, white and gray, black. Dallara P217. Neil McDougall coming to the line, this time by. Last time it was a 129.819. This time. Oh, no, that was this lap. Sorry, now I have to go back in time. He was a 129.727. His second fastest lap of the race came on lap 13. Last time by a 129.8. So Neil McDougall dropping the hammer. Doing his best to extend that distance. Now, Joa is not to be outdone. He ran his fastest lap on lap 13 with a 129.781, followed up by a 129.916. So tire wear be damned. These guys are getting quicker. Randall White ran his fastest lap the last time by with a 130.17. So not quite holding the same pace, but everybody seems to be getting quicker, and the fuel load is a bigger expense than the tire wear, it seems. So right now, Neil McDougall's lead is 3.4 seconds over Joe Antonio, and Randall White is 8.8 seconds back of the leader. More farting around. Farting around here, farting around there, you guys. Was it Beans Night? Was Saturday Beans Night? Probably play more LMU than anything, though. Got second place last. I gotta do some more. I gotta do some online racing in LMU. I really do. Oh, David Payne. That's rough. I understand, though. I understand. I've been trying to get myself to do more of the just general racing, but I'm finding it really hard to find like consistent groups of people to race with. Like, it jumps around so much, like what series has the numbers, and you know, but I really do, and that's why I always come back to the Miata. It's like the most likely, or the GR86. You're gonna always find a lot of people racing. Looking at the clock, we are 26 minutes 41 seconds into this race. It is a 30-minute timed race, so we'll be watching the clock to see when the white flag comes out. Neil McDougall still leading the way. Whoops, I did it again. There we go. I think I got it all right. Yeah, everything's working. Joe Antonio 4.1 seconds back, so the gap is increasing. Randall White maintaining that 8.9 seconds back. So pending a big mistake, we are looking at probably a 1-2-3 finish of Neil McDougall, Joe Antonio, and Randall White. Chuck Labano looking real good for 4th place right now. Joseph Spacek looking good in 5th place. David Clymer in pursuit of 5th. I don't know if he's going to have the time to get there, though. In 6th. Brandon Carl in 7th. Ken Estep in 9th. Wouter Van Morik in 8th place, if I believe. Yeah, I have that all right. Cool, cool. Got it right. Oh, and you can see the leaders are actually starting to catch up to Wouter Van Morik. That could be an interesting turn of events. We are 2 minutes away from the end of the clock here. Hey, Ice Cream C, how you doing? This is the Simpit Road Racing League Fun League. I say Fun League because we run an official series running the same car, which will start up in about 3 to 5 weeks. You'll find information about that in our Discord under the road racing section. This is our summer fun league where each week we have a different car. No one does much practice. We just kind of show up, do the 20-minute practice, 10-minute qualifier, and then our 30-minute sprint race. And we are coming down to crunch time. Neil McDougall, 3.8 second advantage. Did Joa catch up? Let's look at those lap times. Last time by for Neil was a 130.445. Joe Antonio last time by a 130.1. So yes, that's a 0.3 advantage. This time by, Neil McDougall posts a 130.1 to Joa's 129.7. 0.4. 0.4 gain. Joa has reeled it in. I think Neil McDougall might be looking at the clock and thinking, I can take this down to 0.9. He's going to pull a Tony Murano, I like to call it. Tony Murano, one of the best drivers of managing the amount of time left in the race with the advantage he has against the nearest competitor. Might not even be fighting for the lead. It might be a battle for second, third. But I've never seen somebody who can back it down and utilize every stroke of the clock and guarantee his finishing position with safety, whereas drivers like me who can never turn it down and make mistakes when there's no advantage to be gained late in the race. Learn from me. Don't do that. Yeah, and we have a rookie or an amateur and a pro division ice cream C. Points-wise. Looks like my trading paints wasn't working on the main screen because... Oh, Wouter off track. That might have been just getting out of the way of the leaders. And speaking of, let's get back to Neil and see what's going on with the clock. 30.17. Now, I'm not sure. I didn't get my wheel going. We're going to have to see. Is this going to give us a white flag? Nope. Looks like it's going to be 2 more laps, if I'm not mistaken. Is that Brandon Carl just ahead? That sounded like the voice of Brandon Carl. That's Ken Estep who's coming up on him. Neil McDougall, last time by, did run a 129.937. Joe Antonio ran a 130.239. So you can see a little back and forth lap by lap as those two are the strongest out there. Randall White is now running 130.2, so right in the same lap times as those two. And you can see Wouter Van Morik back on track now in the 4th position on track, but he's still actually in 8th place, if I'm not mistaken. There's Chuck Labano all alone. No worries for him. David Clymer might have even... Oh, it was Joseph Spacek who was in pursuit. David Clymer's starting to reel him in, but no, it looks like things are going to stay the way they are at this point. Looking back to Neil McDougall. We should be out of time by any matrix at this point. I guess what I have on my clock here is the not including the outlap, the pace lap. So I'm showing 31:45 on the clock as Neil completes lap number 19. We'll see if he gets the white flag this time by. And I'm not seeing a flag still. So we might be still looking at 2 more laps. 130.451 that time for Neil. 130.971 for Joa. So the gap is increasing. 130.507 for Randall White as he maintains that 8.9 second differential. Sitting in 3rd. Ken Estep, lap down there. Virtually 4th on the track. 2 laps down at this point, actually. And that's Labano running P4. And I'm going the wrong way. And there's Joseph Spacek running P5. It looks like Wout might be pulling it in, calling it a day maybe, or he's just staying on. He's just staying out of the way of everyone and bringing it to the checkered, it looks like. So we see David Clymer coming by at high speed. There's David Clymer running P6. Tom Jones, how you doing, buddy? Nope, Joe is in 2nd place. We'll go back to the front again real quick. Here's Chuck Labano. Lap 20, 33 on my clock. I see. Am I just not getting flags? Why am I not getting flags? I'm showing 2 minutes left in the session. Do we not get a white flag? What am I missing? No, I'm just not getting flags. It looks like he's shutting it down. I believe that is the end of the race, people. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why flags aren't showing up on my screen here. Neil McDougall winning the race. Joe Antonio finishing in second place. Randall White in third. Chuck Labano in fourth. Joseph Spacek in fifth. David Clymer in sixth. Seventh place is going to go to Brandon Carl. Wouter Van Morik in eighth. And Ken Estep in ninth place. As we see our winner, Neil McDougall, out there in that 81 car. Having a great day, leading, taking the pole in qualifying and leading every lap. Joe Antonio was right there in the battle for quite some time. And then Neil was able to get a little bit of a comfortable gap, and then they just sort of played yo-yo for the rest of the day. Randall White kind of fell back a little bit and actually regained some time on the leader and did a pretty good job out there, staying rock solid in third place. And yeah, real good racing by the drivers. Real impressive drive from Labano and Spacek, finishing in fourth and fifth. David Clymer having some trouble and climbing his way back into P6. Brandon Carl really didn't even qualify, just took a spot at the back with very little practice and climbed up a couple of spots into seventh. Wouter Van Morik and Ken Estep both having kind of a rough day. But bringing it home in the end and having a good, fun day here at Magny Course in the Dallara P217. And that is going to do it for today's race. It was fun for me. I'm glad I was able to hang out with you guys and watch the race, call the action in my not-so-professional way, and rest up my shoulder, which, believe it or not, I actually twinged. I went to move my keyboard, holding it with one hand, and hit my shifter and sent shivers through my upset shoulder, which was not cool. Anyway, we didn't do any damage. It was just a reminder. I've got a shoulder that's still not well, and why I'm not out there this week. Hopefully, by next week, I'll be feeling up to it, and I'll be able to run in next week's race. And I believe that Amir will be back to be on the microphone and calling the action. So that is going to do it for today. If you are watching this, I mentioned it a few times through the stream, or if you're watching this later, if you would like to join the Simpit Road Racing Series or any of the Simpit Racing Series, we have a Rally Series, we have an Oval Series. All you have to do is type in !Discord right now if you're new, or there's a link in the description. Get into the Simpit Discord. We have threads for all of the series I just mentioned where you have all the information on how to join. And we have weekly racing in virtually all of them, even if it's just in the name of the Summer Fun League, which is what we've done here. Next week, we'll be back in a different car, different track, just for another fun race. And I hopefully will be out on track, and hopefully we'll have a few more additions to our league. It's also a great place if you're new to our series to get on track when there's really a little bit less at stake. Since it is just a fun league, no one's that worried about it. And that way you can get out there and learn the other drivers, get up to speed, see what you're up against. So I would encourage everybody to get out there for the Summer Fun League in preparation for the next season, which will be in the Super Formula Light or Super Formula car. Shoulder shivers are the #1 sign of COVID, says Joe Rogan. Interesting. I am now double in fear. Fear factor through the roof. Anyway, that's going to do it for this stream. I hope you enjoyed it. It was just in the name of fun. I had my fun. Hopefully you did too. Hopefully you did too. And I will see you hopefully on track for the next one. This is the Simpit. I'm Shaun Cole, and I'll see you on the track. Have a great rest of your weekend.